has been locked away in some grocer's freezer for God knows how long.
Ugh.
You're going to have restaurants that try to cover that up.
Yeah.
Like we're going to make a very rich tomato sauce to cover this this very old frozen shrimp up. Or we're going to make a tomato-based soup, with a metric ton of lemon in it, to get it to kind of cover up that flavoring. And you also get some chefs who just don't know how to prepare. Like you get like sail cat, for example. If you don't cut the bloodline out of sail cat, it really, really messes with the flavor. You got to cut the bloodline out in order to get that nice, clean fish taste to it. Mm-hmm. But you have some chefs who don't know that or do it. So that's why sail cat ends up getting such a bad reputation. Or I don't like eating shrimp because I don't like the dirt grains inside. Well, that's a lazy chef who doesn't want to devein the shrimp, because they're dealing with frozen typically. They don't want to deal with that. If you're cutting fresh shrimp, it's easy to take the head off, devein them, and take it from there. Smart chefs will do the shrimp with the heads on anyway, because then you can make your shrimp stock, your seafood stock out of that.
Ugh.
What do you mean, yuck?
Just, you not wanting to devein and things. It's just like,
I mean, look, you're in a kitchen in the rush. If you're in a kitchen and you're in the rush and you're doing food prep, the idea of peeling and deveining a ton of shrimp in the middle of an evening rush that's like Dante's like third circle, like third ring of hell. So, but you need to do it. It's one of those things that sucks, but you need to do it. But a lot of chefs don't do it. They're undermanned, they're understaffed. And, I think undercrewed is probably the appropriate response.
Yes.
Undercrewed, and they need to, it's like, all right, well, look, just put it in there and send it out. All right. Okay, great.
Exactly. All right. So it's that time. It's last half hour Thursday, which means we go out west. We find out which numbered cup of coffee is in the Rave Green mug. We will answer. We will get this answer. And Nick, the conversation that we were having about Garth Lagerwey, let's carry it over and welcome in Niko Moreno. Niko, it is Nick, it is John, and it is you. Welcome, sir, for your Thursday.
Hey, what's going on? SDH family, happy to be here. We are on cup number 2 of coffee. It's been a good week, busy week. Finally got back to Starfire, which was surprising because we thought we were going to be in Long Acres, the Sounders' new facility, but we either way got to finally see the first couple of glimpses of what the Sounders might look like in 2024. So just excited to be back. Lots to talk about. So let's do it. You guys were talking Garth Lagerwey, huh?
Yeah, we were. Nick, go ahead and present your argument that you had in the last half hour about Garth and the approach in Seattle and their way of doing things. Let's see what Niko says.
Well, Niko, my thought was this, is that Atlanta for a long time had we find emerging South American talent, we bring them up, we develop, we sell, right? That's just, the idea was that you catch lightning in a bottle with this young crew. You win as many trophies as you can. They're gone in a 2 to 3 year period. You bank the cash, you reinvest that, everyone wins. Obviously, we saw that the idea of catching lightning in a bottle, probably not as regular as people would like. But if you look to the Pacific Northwest and you see a team like Seattle, where it's, we're not bringing in, a bunch of 18 and 19, 20-year-olds from Argentina. We're going to find maybe like a 25, 26-year-old Chilean and bring them in. They're going to be here for a little while. They can bring, there can be team chemistry. There can be, an opportunity for these players to stick around for a bit and really buy into team identity. People who say that, Seattle, okay, whatever. If they say anything outside of Seattle is the model of how to run a club long-term in a cap league, they are either being ignorant of the situation or they're being disingenuous. And Seattle's method may not work in like the Eredivisie or the Prem or La Liga, but it works like a charm here in MLS. And I think that's why you had Atlanta come in and snag Garth Lagerwey, because you need one of the key architects of that to come in and assign those player profiles for the scouting department to go get. And I think that's what you've been seeing in the signings that Atlanta has been getting as of late, 25, 26, 27-year-olds who come in here from distressed assets, distressed places that need that money. This is, look at what Seattle's been doing. Look how they've been winning, right? Mix of domestic talent, international talent does not necessarily boom bust quite like what we were doing here in Atlanta for so long.
Yeah, I mean, that's a convoluted conversation and question, and there's 1,000 ways I can go for it. And I will spend some time on it if you allow me to, because it is a great theme. It's something that I love to talk about. Garth Lagerwey, Sounders. I mean, there's a lot of touch. So, and all subjects that I love talking about. So let's start with the Sounders philosophy. And it's not just, it doesn't just work in MLS. I mean, I know I get the side eye when I say this, but it's not just Barcelona, but in Colombia Nacional and other teams around the world, they do things based on a attempt and a effort to have their own academy or under teams bring up talent, right? And that's something that Seattle has done and done even better since the time Garth Lagerwey stepped into the organization. There was a huge amount of money put into the academy. There was a huge emphasis of resources put into trying to develop kids. And you've seen the results of that, at least on how many kids you've been able to use when needed and how good they've been when they were needed. Obed Vargas, Josh Atencio, Danny Leyva. I mean, all of these guys that have come up and you've been able to use when necessary are part of that development. And that does help with the sprinkles of course, having guys that are proven and that you're not going to have to maybe wait to adapt to the league as quickly, and that you're not calling them a prospect, right? Because Nicolas Todero, Raul Ruidiaz, those were the guys that you were going to build your team around. They were both proven players. They were both commodities. They had the intangibles on and off the field, both great at what they did. Raul was a killer in front of goal. He was an assassin that goal scorer that was going to give you a different edge up top. And then you had Niko that was going to be your creative player. He was going to be your go-to guy. As a matter of fact, when he comes in and gets the newcomer of the year, he also had the goals on him because he took the league by storm. So those are the types of things in the philosophy that Seattle has here. We're going to build within. We're going to have our own talent. We're going to develop our own players that are going to be sustainable. And we're going to add these really good, proven players. You've heard me say this before. I know many people have said it now because they've talked to Garth Lagerwey 1,000 times. But he had a range of age between 24 to 29 years old. You know, he wants to make sure maybe even 25, 26. He'd rather to go that route rather than the young South American or the young European players, because those guys have been there, done that. They've been through it all, experience of life, experience on the field. They've had good seasons, bad seasons. There's a longer way to, there's more data involved for how much injuries have they gone through their career. Are they injury prone? Are they not? So those are all things that I believe that Garth Lagerwey and the Seattle Sounders made as their requirements to build their roster. So, and it happens everywhere. Again, like I said, I think that the philosophy there is we're going to grow our own talent and we're going to put it on the field and we're going to allow them to get better. And it's been really good for Seattle. It's worked in many ways. When it comes to the whole selling aspect, that's where things get interesting, because you kind of mentioned it across this whole conversation. And I've had this conversation with Garth. I've had it with Craig Weibel just recently, who's now the leading man here in Seattle. And he says, look, man, I don't give a bleep if I buy a player and I don't sell him. My job is not to sell players. My job is to get wins. I'm trying to get this team somewhere. So if along the way I get a guy that I bring in and he's 22, 23, and he happens to just break out and I can sell him, then that's a win. Or if one of our talented players, like Reed Baker Whiting, like all of these new players that are coming in, Josh Tension is a perfect example. If some of those guys break out, Cody Baker is another good one. So if any of those guys kind of breaks through, then that's a win. But I'm not trying every single day I go and buy the lottery ticket. I'm gonna waste my entire paycheck on hoping that I get it. That's not what I think we should do, and I agree with it. I had in this conversation I shared experience. I had a conversation with Fernando Clavijo, rest in peace. He was one of the most brilliant minds in MLS at the time, and one of the guys that I believe have to be up there in terms of helping soccer in general in the U.S. And he used to tell me, and I'll try to make it as concise as I can, Niko, if I have a farm and the farmer is giving me coffee and bananas, I'm going to do coffee and bananas. And I'm not going to try to get gold because everybody else is on a gold rush, right? I'm going to work the field, I'm going to work the dirt, and I'm going to sustainably get money from what I have in my farm. And if maybe I'm breaking the ground and I find a piece of gold, then fantastic. But if I have a farm that has these specifically resources and then I spend a whole bunch of money trying to do a gold rush around it and I ruin the dirt and I'm putting all these resources on it, even if I find a bunch of gold, I'm already down on what I spent, on what I invested in. Maybe the gold's not even worth as much. And that goes into this whole thing about if I'm trying to get that big next explosive player, I'm going to be in some problems. And that's why you get the Ezequiel Barcos. That's why you get the Marcelino Moreno that didn't quite work out. That's all those things that happen is because you're trying too hard to find the next best thing, and you put yourself in a bad situation. Sosa was another guy that we thought he was going to be this amazing guy. Didn't quite break through, didn't quite get the help or develop the way you wanted. So that's the difference of what you might get now with Garth Lagerwey, where you get the Giacomakis, you get the new signings this year, you get Saba, all those are all the players that you're going to be able to get when you have a guy like Garth Lagerwey, that perhaps either way he might find you a little bit of this new diamond in the rough, and maybe you're able to sell him. But his job is to get Atlanta to win a title. And once again, be part of the elite when it comes to trophies, not to be an exciting team that you want to watch, a team that wins.
And do that from the business side of things and have Carlos Bocanegra and the player acquisition side do their thing. And Garth is doing this for the first time on the business side as the COO of this operation, and saying, okay, all right, it's short term. What we've always heard in the interviews early on that we had with him as well.
Yeah, and Garth, that's a great point. Garth wants to help Bocanegra. He doesn't want to overshadow him. He wants to give him a lot of that knowledge and not remove him from his position. Allow him to do his thing, but under having that guy, that voice over the top. And I'm hearing that you guys are also looking for a player development position in that managerial side of things. So that's another good thing, right? It's Garth Lagerwey saying, okay, maybe Carlos need a little bit of help on the development of player side, plus me up top, and I'm doing my thing. So that's all. The infrastructure is just going to get better with Garth Lagerwey. The guy's brilliant. The guy knows what he's doing. And if I had a team in MLS and I won the lottery and said, Niko, here you go. Here's $300 million. The first call I would make is Garth Lagerwey.
And well, you've got the academy with Atlanta United, with all the academy aspects, with the players at the back, Noah Cobb, Efren Morales, Aiden Torres, that's a part of the discussion. The ones that have been working their way through. Caleb Wiley has come through the academy. So all of that work at the back for the players is there, with the growth from the growth from underneath with the academy, plus the acquisitions on the outside, getting it into that mid-20s range. And to your point, let's look at some of the ages of some of the guys here that have been brought in. Derek Williams, 31, center back, got him in the re-entry draft. You've got Gigi, who's 29, Lob Janidze, 29, Muyumba is 26, and then you've got Cohen in net, and then you also have Bartosz Slisz, who is coming from Legia Warsaw, and I think he's 26. So it's in that Lagerwey range, I guess, for lack of a better phrase. Yeah,
and those are the guys that you are gonna. And this is something that I mentioned when last year there were talks about the Silva coming in, and it's like, oh, you know, it doesn't have that Atlanta feel. Like you're right, it doesn't have that Atlanta feel, and that's a good thing. You're not getting a guy that you're going to be excited all through the time before he gets here, and you're disappointed, baby. I mean, that is what you're hearing right now. You got guys with different profiles, guys that are experienced from different leagues. That has Garth written all over it. Like I'm not saying if the Bocanegra, of course, has not been involved. He has to have been involved, and they're scouting, and there's a whole bunch of things that goes into it. But these are the guys; those are the acquisitions that, for me, have that Garth Lagerwey stamp that's so important.
Halftime with Niko Moreno, Thursdays with Niko at El Rolo in W, at Sports Pulso, at the Soccer Bar. Nick, what else is on your mind with Niko this morning?
Well, here's the question that I would have for you: is somebody who is a connoisseur of the South American leagues? You know, we've tapped into Argentina, right, as a league, right? We seem to enjoy really getting players out of Argentina. Why are we not pulling players, more players, Colombian players, more Peruvian players, Ecuadorian players? Why? To me, it's like these are untapped areas. As much as we're going to, you know, as Atlanta seems to be going toward Ligue 2, and you know, that's great. I think it's amazing. You're getting great value there. But it just seems to me that we are not getting enough of these other players, Chilean players, you know, like Chilean, Peruvian, Ecuadorian. I just need to know who's going to be the first outside of, in Asia. Yes. Now, fantastic option as well. Japanese players, Korean players. Who's going to be the first to really dive into these markets and just say, you can have Argentina. It's all you. This is us. And this is where we're going to be. Who do you think? Because I know you guys have had some success there. Is that something that you think you guys become more hyper-focused on that? Do you think you guys start looking overseas at Asia? Who else is going to be mining that talent?
Yeah, I mean, something that Chris Henderson used to tell me is that there are trends in scouting just like there are in stocks or in anything else, right? There's trends. And you saw a point where it was all Peruvian, right? Into the leagues. All these Peruvian guys coming in, and that's kind of where the trend of the market was going, because scouting on one side and not the other. Right now, Argentina, you're right. Maybe there should be more because as far as I've been able to find out in many conversations with journalists, coaches, and players in Argentina, economically, the league is suffering, and therefore there's a big demand to move players on so clubs can get money, and at the same time, they become very economical. The reason why maybe you're not hearing it so much from Colombia and Ecuador and all of these things, just because the trend right now, it's there in Argentina, and you're trying to get these players that were either in the bubble of like the pre-Olympic Argentinian team, or you know, they were in the Preolímpico Conmebol or whatever it is, but the scouting is there. Maybe it hasn't come into fruition and nobody's pulled the trigger, but there's absolutely teams looking in all those leagues, because in South America, like you mentioned, you get the talent and you get the great price for it, right? Now, of course, you want to exploit other areas, and I can tell you that Seattle has looked at Asia. Seattle has been in Asia just recently, and the last season. I know that Portland had been looking at so as well on that and that end of the world. So the scouting gets done there, but because of the potential and how well developed 18, 19, 20-year-old South American player ends up being, you know, he's already played semi-professionally or professionally at some point. A lot of times they have the pressure of the fans, they have the pressure of the league. Then you do kind of want to go that route, but I feel like it's already been exploded. You know, it's not a gold rush, that an area that's not being scouted or has never been scouted. I think that there's a lot of teams that are there. It's just that perhaps he hasn't come to fruition necessarily. And at the same time, there are the big boy teams in Argentina that can say, you know what, this is my price for this player. And MLS teams have to understand, hey, you know what, that's not what I'm willing to pay, because just like that there's demand of players there, they know that MLS teams need those talents, and they can tax MLS teams, right? Maybe if it's a Mexican team coming in asking for a player, or maybe even a European team that's coming to go get a player, maybe that price is not as high. But when you hear MLS and you know how much they've been trying to get new players, then you tax them on it. And that's where maybe things don't go through, just like the whole Miguel Borja to Austin FC, where they declined the first offer and nothing has been said after that, is exactly that. They're trying to tax Austin on a player, and Austin said that's all I'm willing to give.
All right, so let's take a tour around Major League Soccer here for the final 10 minutes of your segment here, hanging out with Thursdays with Niko. And the first hour of the show this morning, Nick took us to business school, and we did MLS Soccer Business 101, and we were beating the britches off of Minnesota United because of everything that is not going on at Minnesota United, including bringing back a nickname for the second year in a row for Emmanuel Reynoso. They are 38 days away from their first game. They're on their second substitute teacher. Their chief soccer officer is in England still, awaiting a visa, and they thought it was going to be this week, but apparently it's going to be next week. He hasn't met with the players and wants to meet with them face-to-face for their first interactions instead of doing it virtually. What in the blue thunder, who is going on in Minnesota?
I don't think anyone knows. And as always, there is this underlying narrative of, I don't even know what's going to happen with the players that were important for the squad last season, right? Because we're already hearing things about Reynoso, like you mentioned. We already don't know where this team is going in terms of leadership, that coach. I know that the season's still long days away, but if you're going to get a team prepared, you got to start that ideology today, if not last week, right? I mean, it is as simple as you got to get your module ready. You got to get the guys on board. You got to figure out, you got to come in and say, okay, I've been hearing a lot about Minnesota and I know that what I'm getting out of each player, or maybe I've seen it from one aspect, but not as a head coach. And now I got to figure out where everybody's going. I got to have that sit down with everyone and understand, hey, do you want to be here? Fragapane, sir, you were put in the fridge last year. Do you want to be here? Are you willing to play? Is that what you want to do, right? Are you going to talk to Arriaga and say, hey, you played several positions last year. Where are you going to be more valuable to this team? So all of those things, right? John was a good player that you brought in. How are you going to be able to develop him into an even better player? All of those questions need to be asked, and you need to be able to look at this roster and figure it out, and you haven't done it. Mm-hmm. Now, the good thing for Minnesota is that what I've been saying as of last year, and I'll hold that today, the West is a little bit shaky.
Yeah.
The best teams are in the East. So even Seattle has some question marks, and we'll talk about Seattle here in a second. I'll give you that deep look at Seattle. But when you look at Austin, they're a mess. You look at San Jose, there's a lot of question marks there. You look at Portland, I have zero faith in Neville. You have all of these teams that were and have always been big, and now you're kind of thinking maybe I have a chance, right? So Minnesota at least has that going for themselves. Even LAFC right now, I feel like I don't know where they're going, right? And they had some struggles last year. So with all that said, I think, yes, Minnesota is setting themselves up for failure, but maybe the fact that the West is not as strong still gives them a chance to, just like last season, barely be in the conversation for playoffs.
Nick, hit it.
Well, no, I think that it's interesting to see how the league has, again, that pendulum effect. There was a time when the West was running things. And then, now to see that pendulum shift to the East and how that's going to, what's going to end up leading to it swinging right back out to the West. It's just interesting. I love this crazy ass league for this very reason. Nowhere else are you, in my opinion, are you getting this level of buffoonery week in and week out, where one team who has no business being competitive suddenly is hyper competitive, right? I think Defensa y Justicia down in Argentina might be one of the examples I have of where we've seen anything like that, right? But it's the rise and the falls of the teams in this league. It's so much damn fun. It really is so much fun. And I know I come across as a Major League Soccer homer by saying this, but it's, where the hell else are you getting this level of excitement globally? South America, you'll get it. Yeah, you'll get some of this, sure. But year in and year out, this league, it just keeps you locked in and entertained.
It's anybody's game, right? And I think that the level of parity is something that MLS has above any other league, really. Because, even in South America, if I go from Colombia to Argentina to Chile to Uruguay, there's like 3 to 4 teams that every year they're going to win it. For sure. You could bet whatever you want. And one of those 4 teams, they're going to win it, or they're going to be right there. And every other team is just fighting for mid-table positions or not get relegated. I mean, that's literally it, right? That's where the fun is trying to figure out who's going to come in, who's going to come out. Yeah. But at the end of the day, who's going to win it. Let's not talk about La Liga. Let's definitely not talk about the Bundesliga when it comes to who's going to win it. I mean, you already know it, right? So that's the thing about Major League Soccer, when you have a team like St. Louis come in and just take the best in the Western Conference, and then on the other side, you get teams like New York City on the East that you thought they were going to do great. They have this great group behind it, and they're a big dud. So those are the things that I believe make MLS so interesting and so much fun.
All right, so hit me with Seattle. What's going on?
All right, so we're back at Starfire. Like I said, interesting. It sounds like the team will be using the new facilities, but not till after they come back from Spain, Marbella, Spain. Yes, they are going to Marbella, Spain.
Are you going?
February. Huh?
Are you going?
No, absolutely not. I have traded in that trip to go to Colombia. I'll be going to Colombia in February myself, so I won't be able to be in Spain because I had planned a family getaway for 2.5 weeks in Colombia. So, yeah, I don't get to go to Spain, but I do get to visit beautiful Cartagena with the family. So I won't be there, but the team is going from the 26th to the 10th. So that's interesting. They did that last year. Obviously, no Club World Cup this year, but they like the atmosphere. They like the competition over there. They have a lot of connections that I think could give them the possibility of some interesting preseason games. Plus, I like the fact that you do something different every year away from Arizona or just here in Renton or Tequila, whatever you do it. That's exactly what I think gives players a different atmosphere, right? But let's go ahead and get to the players, right? It was nice to see that the atmosphere of the players, the camaraderie be there. It seemed like the feel was good. The vibe of the team was good. And that's something that I was very interested in and curious about because of, some of the problems that were last season, no Nicolás Odero, now with Orlando City, all of these things, right? You were hoping that was there. And it was. A lot of the experienced players were there. Some were not, and we'll get to that in a second. But it was good to see Joe Pablo. Looks fantastic. Looks at not just from a leadership role, but just looks so good on the ball. Always seems to stay strong in the offseason. Love to see Albert Rusnak there. Now he's the it guy. He's going to be your creative player. He seems like he's really getting into the shape of things with this new group. And I do believe that it's a new group for him because it's different to be the guy with Niko there and you being the guy without Niko there, right? Now your responsibilities grow. Your necessity to be a bigger voice on that field grows. And I think he did it well within the 2 games that I've seen it. A lot of young players that are interesting. Raul Rodriguez was brought up from Tacoma Defiance to the first team, was signed by the Sounders. He was interesting. I mean, I wouldn't call him young, I guess, because he's 24, but he was brought up from Tacoma Defiance. But he looked really good, explosive, good on the ball, nifty, beating guys off the dribble. So that was good to see. Cody Baker was another player that was impressive, another young player that was really impressive in the 2 games and two training sessions that we got to see. Raul Ruidiaz, right? That was the guy that you were hoping to take a look at. He looks very involved. He looks serious, intense, almost like he did when he first came on from Morelia. That intensity, that laser focus on everything. Plus, before he was doing a little bit of laughing and playing, and that's always important for a guy like Raul. In terms of the roster, though, I'm still a little bit skeptical. There are only 2 real strikers within the team, and it's Jordan and Raul. There's nothing else for this team. So whether Rodriguez, Braulio could be there and be the guy for you, maybe, but there's really nothing else there, and that to me is concerning. Even if you're going to go with 1 striker and you're trying to make that decision between Raul and Jordan Morris, I just don't feel like that's the strategy that you should go with, because it goes back to the playoffs last season and the struggles that you had by having Raul as your bench and having Jordan as the 9 and Leo on the left. So I think that there needs to be a strong look at either bringing another player or how you're going to be able to maximize what you have there. Freddie Montero is still in negotiations with the team, but he's more of an experienced guy. I want him here. I think he's an asset. Is he the guy that you want as your next option at striker every game? Probably not, but he's definitely a guy that you want on your bench, right? Because regardless of his age, I thought he produced when he was called upon last year. He's a locker room guy. He's a creative player. He still has a gifted foot. So I would like to see Freddie back, but I also would like to see someone else be brought into this team. Question marks here. Jackson Reagan either re-aggravated a knee or had a new knee injury. Brian Smetzer talked about the timeline. He wasn't sure whether he suffered that injury with the U.S. national team camp, or is that something that just he got a step back on from the injury he suffered against LAFC last year? That's tough. You still got Yeimar, who was not with the team and will not be with the team till maybe he might meet the team in Spain. I'll tell you that right now. Brian Smetzer mentioned that he might be back. I don't foresee it. I think Yeimar is going to have to meet the team in Spain because he's trying to get his green card, which it helps the team, of course, right? He's going through the process of the green card, but Colombian embassy, man, it's slow and it's loaded. And I don't see him getting his visa into maybe another week. He still has to go back to Argentina to meet with his family. So I don't think he's going to meet the team till the team gets to Spain. We got a first look at Nathan, who came from Earthquakes. I like what I saw. Poised player, good passer, but he's a little bit on the narrower frame side. And at center back, I don't really like the narrower frame. I feel like he needs a little bit of some Nesquik or something to just build up those muscles and really get bigger. But we'll see how he plays out. He's an interesting guy. Bell from San Luis has a chip on his shoulder, man. He said, I feel like I got the door closed on me by San Luis. I got a chip on my shoulder. I want to prove that I belong in this league. Like that mentality. He's going to be, I think, more of a left back option here with Nuhu on that side. So maybe he'll rotate. Maybe he'll play a little bit of center back. But in the practices, he was at left back. So that's kind of what you get right now. Pedro Del Vega, he will be here. It's not about if, it's when. Probably everybody's favorite quote by Brian Smetzer this week was, he'll be here. So he will be here. Hopefully everything gets situated, and maybe whether it's before Marbella or at Marbella, but Pedro de la Vega will be there. So there you go. That's kind of a little bit of insight of what we saw this week for the Sounders. I will say, though, that my expectations not incredibly high right off the bat. I'll be honest with you. I think that there's going to be some issues starting off. I don't expect Pedro de la Vega, who, he has some injuries and still a young player, to come in and have that Nicolás Odero effect. I really don't. So how long does it take him to really adapt to this new squad, what he's going to provide? Brian seems to be very sure of that core group that played last year to come in and be better this season, just because you have a healthy Christian Roldan now, and that's a big part. You got Jordan now fully on that 9 position. So we'll see how that works out, but I'm keeping my expectations right here. I'm not there yet. I would be very careful with my expectations on the Seattle Sounders team.
All right, so that's the early rounds on Seattle. We still got plenty to talk about around the league. What's going on with you these days with Pulso Sports and Soccer Bar, and let everybody know where they can catch up with you.
All right, well, Pulso Sports is still going on. You can go find all of these interviews that I just mentioned. Talk to Nathan in Spanish, in English. Was able to talk to John Bell, Brian Smetzer, of course, Christian Roldan. We're planning a little bit of another, and one of my favorite things to do, as always, is a little round table as a preview of what's going to happen in Marbella for this team. So check that out. Soccer Bar has been on a standstill right now. I don't know if you know, but here in the Pacific Northwest, there's been some heavy storms. So our producer has had some issues with power outages and a whole bunch of things. So we put it on ice until hopefully next Monday. And ice is kind of ironic because that's what we have here in the Northwest right now. So we're hoping to get through that, and then we'll be back at Soccer Bar hopefully next Monday.
Take care of your 3 P's: your pets, your pipes, and your people. That is what you got to do this time.
Like that.
With what's going on up there in the Pacific Northwest. Inquiring minds want to know. So when you go to Cartagena, are you going to be doing Thursdays with Niko from there? Are you going to be live from Colombia on Thursdays to hang out with us, or are you actually going to take time and completely unplug?
Ooh, that's a good one, man. I think that I could persuade my wife into maybe me stepping away for 30 minutes at least once or 2 times out of those 2.5 weeks. Yeah, I would like to do so, just to say we did a remote thing from Cartagena. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I know, because we got to chase after the steps of Jack Colton and Romancing the Stone. We got to finish up with Cartagena. That's going to be, if we can pull that off with the internet speeds, that would be fantastic. My friend, it's always great to catch up with you on Thursdays. Thanks for hanging out with me and Nick, and we will catch up with you next week.
Thank you, John. My man over there in the corner too. Take it easy.
Yeah, man.
All right, so that's Niko, and it's great to catch up with Niko. Nick, before we go, since the 4th official has held up the sign, and he has said that we are doing added minutes. We're definitely doing that. So let's go through gossip, rumor, and innuendo, and what to watch before we get out of here. And what to watch, you've got AFCON going on. Noon, it is Ivory Coast, Nigeria, and Egypt and Ghana is at 3. Being in Espanol. You can catch that on Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. Helps out us at the network, helps out Fanatis. And if you are a true sicko of the game like we are, you get to get things like all the BNs, Liga 1 Max, you get the Brasileiro, you get CDO for the fans, Teise, Gold TV, all that stuff at Fanatis, fntz.co/soccer down here. Speaking of Gold TV, they've got the Portuguese Premier at 3:45, and they've also got the Serie Rio de la Plata, 3:45, 6, and 8:15. Atletico Tucumán's playing at 6, Vasco da Gama and San Lorenzo at 8:15. On the plus, Copa del Rey, Atletico Madrid, Real Madrid. Maybe do a little advanced scouting on Simeone and see if he wears a color other than black. And the answer to that would be no. 3:20. Golasso Network has Asian Cup, Palestine and the UAE at 12:30. Paramount Plus has India and Uzbekistan wrapping up. Palestine UAE is also on Paramount Plus at 12:30. And the Italian Supercoppa with Napoli and Fiorentina is at 2 o'clock.
Interesting.
Very, very busy day on the stuff. So gossip, rumor, and innuendo before we go. Jordan Henderson has given up the money to go to Ajax. He has surrendered funds to make it easier for Ajax to pick him up. And it also appears that Steven Gerrard has been handed a new deal at Al Ettifaq despite not winning a game since October. So good work if you.
Hey, good for them, I guess. Look, I'm more interested in the Jordan Henderson thing because it's going to be very interesting. They had a lot of older players who took the money and ran, right?
Mm-hmm. And now they're all regretting the decision, apparently.
It seems that a lot of them are regretting that decision. You have a player like Mo Adams who is playing over there and seemingly loving it. The good for him. If that's the case and he's living his life, that's marvelous. I wish him nothing but the best. But for some of these players who still had time and ability, who elected to jump at the cash, I think a lot of them are going to figure out very quickly that with money comes control.
Mm-hmm.
And you learn about this very quickly in the film industry, that the more money someone gives you, the more control they're going to have over your product.
Correct.
And you sometimes need to make that choice between freedom and a very fat bank account.
Mm-hmm.
And so I would caution anyone before they sign any kind of big deal where it's like, oh man, all my financial problems are solved. The minute that enters your head, you need to hit the brakes. Read the fine print.
Who controls the asset? That is the question.
Yes. And what is your day-to-day life going to be like? Not just for you, but for the people around you.
Breaking news that we kind of talked about like a week and a half ago. It's now officially official, Nick. You remember, we've been talking about the purple team this morning and their owners. We've been talking about that stadium that's down there that's been named after the travel entity. They got the new name on the stadium. It is now officially Inter & Co. Stadium. 10 years with the digital banking entity. So Inter & Co. Stadium is now going to be the home of the purple team in Middle Florida.
Oh, my God. Observational comedy. It's just observational. It occurs naturally out in the wilderness. It just grows like a wildflower. Yeah. Like a bird in the sky. It's so stupid.
So Inter & Co. will host Inter & Co. hosting Messi and friends when they travel to Central Florida to take on the purple team.
Oh, my God.
10-year deal till 2033. I don't think they get there because we're talking about a digital banking entity. But Inter & Co. Stadium in Central Florida. It's officially official. So we got that going for us, which is nice. Oh, my God. Atletico Madrid and Barca among 6 clubs interested in Calvin Phillips. Future set to be decided next week from the Telegraph. Newcastle scouring Europe for midfield replacements. Entirely dependent on if convincing Manchester City to lower their demands, because Newcastle, remember, they're dealing with FFP now for the next 2 years. And they're already 70% there.
Yep.
Magpies sent their head of scouting to watch Atalanta midfielder Ederson in a 5-0 win against Frosinone. But the Italian club have no interest in selling a 24-year-old Brazilian in January. That's from our friends Tutto Mercato.
Who are they going to buy?
That's what I'm saying.
The only thing can they afford the plane ticket?
Doubtful at this point. And Spurs have not given up hope of signing Conor Gallagher for the tune of 45 to I think it's 45 to 50 million from Chelsea. Chelsea are willing to let Armando Broja leave on a permanent if a suitable offer is received. West Ham, Fulham, and Wolves are among those interested. Chelsea's going to ask for 50 million for Broja, who scored 2 goals in 17 appearances this year. Portugal striker Gonzalo Ramos' future at PSG is in doubt And the French club could sell the 22-year-old if a suitable offer is made. Fulham in talks to sign Chelsea center back Trevor Chalobah on a 6-month loan deal with an option to buy. Napoli would be interested in Denmark midfielder Pierre-Emile Højbjerg if Spurs decide to sell in January.
I would not take that move. Napoli's a mess.
Mm-hmm. Arsenal leading the race to sign 20-year-old Xavi Simon, who is on loan at RB Leipzig from PSG. They've also been handed a boost in their January pursuit of Bruno Guimaraes, following reports that Newcastle are searching for his replacement, and they got to sell him and come up with a cheaper replacement. That was editorial that I added there at the end. Villa inquired over the potential signing of Borussia Dortmund's Gio Reyna. New agent, Jorge Mendes. Gio Reyna, Aston Villa, don't do it. If I'm Villa, don't do it. Villa have agreed with Red Star Belgrade to sign right back Kosta Nedeljkovic, who's 18. He'll stay in Serbia until next year. Marseille planning to return to make an offer for West Ham's Said Benrahma, who's going to be taking a day off, or at least the next time he's in the FA Cup, considering he got a red card last time out in there, lost to Bristol City. First bid was turned down. Manchester United's Amad Diallo set to turn down any championship loans Ivory Coast internationals wanted by Michael Carrick at Middlesbrough. Bayern Munich looking to beat Man U to sign Nice defender Jean-Claire Todibo. Also interested in Lens defender Kevin Danso. Radu Dragusin says he turned down a late move to Bayern Munich to join Spurs. Inter Milan close to securing a deal with Iran striker Mehdi Taremi to move to the club on a free after his contract with Porto runs out.
Wow.
Calcio Mercato.
Interesting.
Okay. And then last one on the board, Spurs defender Yafet Tanganga set to end his loan spell at Augsburg, moved to Millwall until the end of the season. And so Yafet Tanganga, when he gets there, can say, blank you, I'm Millwall.
That's right. Still one of the greatest stories of all time.
Blank you, I'm Millwall.
Go 10 toes down
to
knife-wielding terrorists. And your response is, F you, I'm Millwall. That will forever be the just championship level material.
Yes. Championship level material is also Inter and Co Stadium.
Oh my God. Unbelievable.
Oh, Inter and Co Stadium.
The comedy writes itself.
Oh my God. Send us home, because we're going to be laughing for the next 3 hours about this.
Yes. Following up, D Graham. Yes, I know that we have players from Peru and Colombia, but I want more. Okay?
He wants all the Peruvian and Colombian players.
Yes. Yeah,
and he also wants to own a club where he can hire Sebastian Becasese and have him as manager.
Can we all have happy things? It's good to have happy things. And then that with more exciting than Serie A, says Dell. Hey, you know what, Dell?
Uh-oh.
Dell?
Uh-oh.
You may be right.
Oh, wow.
It's okay. It's all right. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't mind. I don't mind. But with that, just go ahead and understand the things that we learned today, which is if your supervisor puts you on a performance improvement plan, you should immediately get LinkedIn Premium and start hitting that job hunting button with a quickness.
Mm-hmm.
Wait. Don't be like, oh my God, how do I turn this around? Go, run.
Yes. Leave.
Yes.
Find another gig. Find your next gig. But don't be in between jobs, because
do not wait for them to do the secondary follow-up PIP meeting move. Don't do that. Another thing, be kind to yourselves. Okay, if you end up in those situations, if you end up on a PIP, if you end up, because the economy is kind of wacky, especially in the tech world, people getting let go and laid off, and you go on the hellscape that is LinkedIn, you see a lot of green open to work things on there. Hey, look, it ain't you, baby. It ain't you. Okay. All right. Sometimes we have a hand in that process, but understand that the world has changed. I'll put it that way. And the choices that these people make to make these calls, it ain't your fault, love. Okay? Don't put that on yourself. You don't need that. You're beautiful. You're beautiful and talented and energetic. You got to handle it.
Hit me.
handle it. So look, be kind to people. You never know what they're going through. And if you have the ability to network, help people out, do those things. And remember that the real world ain't too far terribly different from the sports world, okay? So the things that are setting some folks back in the real world, setting some folks back in the sports world, keep your head on a swivel, my loves. And until next time, mucha, mucha Euro, y'all.
What he said. Back again, 9:05 tomorrow morning to finish out another week at SDH.